Hi, this is Ashley Victoria, and you are tuning in to Fucking Phenomenal. And I am hanging out with the Abbey Scott. Hey, Abby.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be able to chat with you today.
Yes, I'm excited to share and brag about you and your coffee today. So everybody, if you do not know Abbey Scott, she is the creative genius behind one of my favorite coffee brands, which is Coffee Over Cardio. But before we kind of really dive into those interview questions, Abby, tell me a little bit about you.
So, Coffee Over Cardio is my online coffee company. A lot of people think we might have a coffee shop and whatnot, and we don't. It's just coffee that you can purchase to make in your own home. The way it got started was actually it was 2017 was when I was working for an investment bank in New York City, and at the time, my now husband, who was my boyfriend, he lived across the country. So during the day, I would basically take 3 or 4 trips to go get coffee, and he just so I could talk to him, right? And at this point, I'm spending so much money on coffee, and he made a joke that I bought so much coffee that I should just have my own. And at the time, he's an entrepreneur at heart. And he saw that there were other coffee companies who were very niche in the social media world, but they were all very neutral or very masculine. And he was like, well, we're both in the fitness industry in terms of fitness is our passion. He's worked for fitness companies, supplement companies, and it was in this realm. And I was still in finance at this time, but I had a little fitness IG or whatever it was for an accountability. And he was like, well, I feel like there's no coffee company within the fitness realm. And then there's no coffee branded towards females, which is insane because females are probably some of the biggest drinkers of coffee.
And we are, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we are. And being a coffee connoisseur myself, there really isn't or wasn't, at that time, that actually targeted to women. So you're right about that.
So we were like, oh, this actually might be something to explore. And again, at the same time, I'm taking off in my finance career, doing really well. I ended up moving to Houston to move within the investment bank I was working. I moved down to Texas, and we really started exploring, did our research, started designing, and December 2017 we officially launched Coffee Over Cardio. At this time, I'm gonna prop myself up to maybe 2,000 followers. I wasn't a social media present, and since then, we've grown. We grew a ton in 2018. We started off with 4 coffees. We launched 2 right at the end of 2018, and then I think we launched I want to say between coffees and new products, almost 20 new products in 2019, which just shows how much we've grown. And then this year even more so. So everyone always asks too, why is it called Coffee Over Cardio? And people tend to mistake it for a weight loss. It really is just a very high quality coffee, and the name came from playing with 2 of our passions. It wasn't anything in particular. We worry that are more of, I guess, performance supplements. I'm putting that in air quotes, but that would, I think, align more with the fitness side of the brand. But that's how it all started. It kind of was just an idea that we decided to actually look into, and here we are today. I'm full-time, he's full-time, and then we have a separate marketing agency that we own at the same time.
Well, I think it's absolutely beautiful, Abby. I love the branding. I love the names of the coffee. I think you have a really great thing going on. And you were right about the quality of coffee. So when I try to talk to people about coffee, a lot of times people tell me, oh, I don't like coffee. It tastes nasty. Because they're used to what I call shit and dirt water coffee. Gas station coffee, Starbucks maybe. but we don't really understand that. Just like when you like working with vodka or gin, like the small batch, small roasting process, always deliver a better quality, better flavor. Even with chips, you know. So I try to tell them, like, you know, when you're working with the smaller brands, or even, you know, companies that roast on a smaller scale, you're going to get a better tasting, in quality, flavored coffee. And I always bring my girls over and we do a French press tasting. I think the French press is probably the best way to try a coffee first before, you know, throwing it in the, you know, in a coffee maker or whatever, just because you're really getting all of the oils and the flavors. So I love the coffee. I'm a barista babe myself, so like I think you have something amazing going on. And I know you kind of mentioned earlier, you know, about, you know, your niche and what's standing out, but what are, I think, the three main things that actually hold keep coffee over cardio, you know, from the other brands?
I think the branding. I mean, the branding stands out. Even when we talk to people who are in the coffee industry themselves, nothing like we've done with. I would say there's like a pattern on our bags and stuff like that. Like just the effort that's gone into the branding, exactly, is just stand out. Like I don't know if you've ever gone to a grocery store and like walked through the coffees, but they're all, I mean, honestly, it's not a knock at any companies, but any company, like you try to drive costs down. And the way we make our bags is not the cheapest way to make bags in any means. A lot of times you might see something more of like a sticker, or you can tell the difference between like literally the packaging itself. So I think we've gone, and even from the beginning to packing our packages that we send out, like we put love and care in everything that we do to make sure that branding is on point. And that's everything of like responding to DMs of like, not like we try our best to not just like heart something, you know, have conversations. So it's that experience of making the brand come full circle from the designs to everything. That's, I think, where we've stood out as well as been successful. The second thing, which I think goes to kind of what you've already been speaking to, is actually the quality of coffee. There's two different kinds of actual coffee beans that are most common, Arabica and Robusta. Most people don't know the difference. Arabica. So this is just like the scientific, but Arabica beans are typically higher quality because they are grown on mountaintops, meaning they're getting just more water, right? Versus a valley, which is a Robusta. So, you know, it's just more water, more sun, anything like that. And can you still see me?
No.
That's weird. Another thing that we do, because we are very big into flavored coffee, is we use high quality flavoring. We use natural extracts. That's why you're not getting an artificial taste or anything like that. And we're being particular too about, you know, where we're getting those from and sourcing it from. And then the next part of the quality piece is also just, you know, I don't think people realize what type of effort in terms of just volume you need in order to put something on a store shelf. In reality, a company is probably quite large, where they're holding thousands and thousands of bags, maybe in warehouses, before it even goes to sit on a grocery store shelf. That's something we don't do. On average, the way we have our ordering down for roasting and keeping our coffee fresh, we don't have a very big warehouse because we're just consistently going through our inventory and keeping the coffee fresh on the shelves. The best time to have coffee is actually within minutes of actually grinding coffee. That's someone that, you know, is going to be making their coffee with an espresso machine. But if you are someone who has always even just gone to Starbucks or just bought your coffee from grocery stores, even just trying our coffee, you should be able to tell, like, this is less than 2 weeks old. You know, and then we've done things like improve our bags so that they can be sealed, meaning they can stay fresh longer and stuff like that. So I think it's the effort in putting out just a quality product. is really what makes us stand out. Then a third thing I would say is the unique fitness spin, which is where we have essentially we've turned supplements that we might have used in pre-workout, so things like nootropics, which help increase focus, mental clarity, or electrolytes, right? Like your Gatorade that you're having, like we turn those into things that you can put into your coffee and have benefits from. And that's kind of like a growing product line that we're trying to be very creative with the future. And I think that's really what makes us stand out too, is we're not just doing, your regular coffee product and then creating coffee makers or something like that. We're doing things that are very unique, and that helps us target our audience of just health conscious females and males.
That, like you have like this great, I get your text message, when you have specials out. I got your message about, the donut headbands, like your apparel line. You definitely have built a great sense of community through your Facebook groups. And of course, with the Barista Babes and, keeping that communication open through your text messaging. So I look at that. I give you huge virtual high fives on that. So now moving a little away from the coffee, and it's actually still, staying within coffee because the coffee over cardio, fitness. So it plays a huge part in your life. Have you always been into fitness, or was there a certain time or an event, or even somebody that helped you kind of gear your way into being, get your booty into gear?
Yeah, so I think I'm like a lot of people where I would say, yeah, I've always been active since I was a kid. And for me, that played a very important role. I was like a multi-sport athlete until high school, where I really switched gears, and I actually went on to play Division I softball in college. So, I'm a little bit abnormal in terms of, going on to college to play a sport, going on to Division I. So my fitness journey has changed. I've had, I guess until I was 22, I was very much focused on performance versus like a fitness or a health weight loss journey. I wasn't always comfortable with my body during these performance times, but that was my priority, was, play the game. And, it helped me in terms of partially paying for my education, which led me to my finance career, and more important things after graduation. But it was a really big part of who I was, not only physically, but mentally as like a teammate and things like that. And it's helped me tremendously. Now, I did struggle when I left and my softball career behind and transitioned into being a non-athlete. It was a very difficult time for me, because my whole life I'd always, as much as I enjoyed working out and being active, I also had done it in a way where I was always told, like, hey, okay, we need to practice today, or you need to put in X amount of effort outside of your practices and things like that. And I'm a very coachable person, and I thrive off of some sort of structure. So when I left, I not only stopped playing because I graduated, but I also went into a completely different world than I was used to, where I moved to New York City. I'm from a small town, and then I was in an enclosed campus and school and stuff. So I moved to a city, where you eat out, and food and drink is a huge part of New York City's culture. And it really wasn't who I was, but it was also, I'm working 80, 90 hours a week. Part of my job is to go on, 5 to 10 food-based or drink-based client meetings. And then I go from someone who is being active 70 to 80% of their time, even at college, to being someone who's sitting 70 to 80% of their time in the workforce. And that was really hard for me. So that was actually when when I started my fitness Instagram. A lot of that was just for accountability, because I just was like, well, if, I'm not posting and I'm not doing it. And it was just fun. And it was, gave me a way to, I guess, expose myself to other people who had similar goals. I was really intrigued by the bodybuilding world because it did have a potential line to go down in terms of a competition, which I've been a competitive athlete my entire life. So that gave me an option, but it was also a lifestyle aspect. And for me, it was a lifestyle about taking care of yourself and how your body looks versus a performance. So there was a big switch on that, but it was the lifestyle aspect that like really helped me. So that was back in, I guess, 2015, 2016 was when I started. I had gained a lot of weight. I think I had gained about 30 pounds after graduation, and I wasn't happy with myself. I didn't, and a lot of that too was I wasn't working out like I always had been. So there was stress outlets and stuff like that. So it was just like a confusing time for me. It wasn't the happiest time. So finding a way to make working out, eating right into my lifestyle that I could enjoy was really how I got started in how I was introduced in the fitness world and the fitness world on Instagram. It's ended up how I met my husband and, and eventually led to coffee over cardio and everything we're doing today.
Well, I'm actually we can relate. I can relate to you on that. I actually swam for my college team. So when I left the swim team, that weight, because we weren't told, okay, 5 to 7 a.m. is practice. After practice, we had, just regular conditioning. And every weekend we had meets. So you're right, like being active all through college. And then as soon as you leave, it's like, oh my God, nobody telling me, to go run. No one telling me, to get into the pools, from some laps. And the weight did kick on for sure. But it's very mental and a discipline that I know a lot of us women sometimes struggle, especially after a change in a lifestyle. You mentioned that, this is how you met your husband through Instagram and how everything kind of started going through business. That's why I believe that everything happens for a reason. If you hadn't had gone through certain things earlier, from after getting out of college and transitioning, a career and changing your lifestyle, you may not even, you may not have coffee over cardio. You may not even be in your in the fitness realm that you're in now. So I definitely know that it had to be a really huge discipline that you had to play with, within yourself. So it's kind of just wrapping up a little bit everything here. What advice can you give to other aspiring women who are looking to maybe not all necessarily start their own business, but just excel in the career field that they're already in?
Yeah, so I mean, if you are looking to start a business, I think the biggest thing to understand is it's going to take time before you go full time. So there's no good time to start. And also, your goal doesn't have to be to turn a business into something full time. Like there are so many people who just genuinely enjoy their hobbies and want to turn it into a little extra income, and that's awesome too. Just don't let other opinions or fear of judgment or anything like that stop you, because at least in my experience of my own self and talking to others, the judgment was something I made up in my head, and it wasn't, and people are a lot more supportive than anything. So definitely don't stop. And then in terms of both like being an entrepreneur, being a career woman, and this is where I've been successful, I think, on both sides, is make sure that you're taking time to further your education, and a lot of that takes just extra kind of research, and whether that's research on people maybe you're looking up to in your own industry. So for me, that's other small business owners. When I was in finance, I was just looking at other women who were in positions that I wanted to be in when I furthered my career path. So kind of like doing your own research via conversations or anything like that, paying attention to types of social media posts, doing research in terms of what can you do to get there, and like that's where like I mean, I was a barista in college, but for someone, if you had told me a couple of years ago, like, hey, you're going to run an e-commerce business, I would have like laughed. I would have been like, I have no idea how to do any of that. And even in marketing, like, it's funny, like, people go to school for marketing, right? I haven't gone to school for marketing at all. And yet I run an agency. Now, I don't necessarily do everything, and I've had to hire designers and stuff like that. But from my own research, and then from my own experience, and then continuing education and stuff like that, my clients are excelling, and I'm part of that growth, and I've been able to learn. So I think just like making sure that you never put that off, the ability to fast forward your growth by just paying attention and having some sort of game plan and little mini goals along the way. Again, on an entrepreneur side, paying attention to those you look up to. What are they doing right? Also, what are they doing wrong? That's a big way to learn. And then the same in the career path. Like, I can still tell you like 4 or 5 people that in finance who I looked up to majorly, and I made sure to try to be very aware of how they got there. I didn't waste their time, but I wanted to make sure when I asked questions and learned from them that I really could take away things. So that's really what you have to focus on. And I mean, that goes into things beyond your career too, just to always try to better yourself. But that would be my advice, is if you haven't taken time to figure out how can you excel yourself from where you're at, take that time, figure it out, do that research.
I love that. I majored in history. So research right there is all, has like 4 years of it, plus. And I'm a huge advocate on education too. And, I've had in my previous background, which is fashion shows and designers and swimwear, I've had aspiring designers ask me constantly, how do you do this? How do you do that? What about this? What about that? And I always try to tell them, go read a book. You need that. You can always tell somebody something, but I personally believe that if you go out there and like do the research, the math, find it yourself, you absorb it better. And you're able to comprehend it differently than just someone feeding it to you. So I love the fact that you say, basically put in the work. And do the research for it. And I think a lot more women need to hear that. And I know it's not going to be easy, but I love it. I love the fact that you encourage that, and that you are going on an amazing direction. I'm excited for you. I definitely expect to see a lot more. I know I'll see a lot more from you in both of your career paths. And I'm looking forward to being a part, continue being part of the Barista Babes, and sharing your phenomenal coffee. Maybe you should have a phenomenal coffee app.
Yeah, that would be a good name.
But I know you have a lot of good stuff in the works. I thank you so much for your time, Abbey. Your gifts and your talents are definitely deserve to be shown to the world, and I think you're doing an amazing thing and helping and inspiring other women. I don't want you to ever forget that you are fucking phenomenal.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You're so kind, and I'm excited to see your podcast and everything you're doing to continue to grow.
I appreciate you, Abbey. You have a wonderful Monday, okay?
Thanks. Bye.